right, welcome back to the lead. We have some breaking news here. A campaign source tells CNN that Donald Trump is going to push back a speech that was supposed to be on Thursday to lay out his immigration policy. The campaign now says it wants to fine-tune the policy and work on the speech's language. This is a big deal because, of course, Donald Trump's position on immigration, there has been some cloudiness about whether or not it has been changing. Our panel is here to discuss, and Corey Lewandowski, former Trump campaign manager, I want to start with you. You know, you were the campaign manager, you're still receiving severance, you're still in frequent contact with the campaign. Any word on why they've moved the date of this speech?
Look, I think what we have seen from Donald Trump over the last week is that he has outlined a series of speeches that have been very specific on policy topics. He will continue to do that today. He's speaking in Ohio. I think you'll see him continue to lay out some specific topics in that speech, and I don't think any time that there was going to be a specific speech on immigration. But the real question is...
Oh, no, there was. There was a speech on Thursday.
The real question
Eric Trump said this morning that he was giving a big immigration policy speech on Thursday. We'd all been pointed to this speech. We were told every week they're going to have a new policy, they're going to talk about a new subject, and it was all starting Thursday. Now it's not.
What's Hillary Clinton talking about on Thursday? Where is Hillary Clinton this week?
It's a different subject. We're talking a lot about Hillary coming up.
Right, and you'll see Donald Trump tonight talk about immigration. The bottom line is, on this topic, his position has not changed. What this entire reporting has been about is a BuzzFeed article that says Donald Trump is rethinking his policy.
No. Well,
he was on Fox News.
Your double successor as campaign manager said that the deportation force, which
what
is something...
What did Donald Trump say today, though?
She said to be determined, so it's not to be determined.
What did Donald Trump say today on Fox and Friends?
He said he hasn't flip-flopped. He wants a firm and fair policy, but they never asked the follow-up, which what is a firm and fair policy on a deportation force? Do you know for a fact that he still supports a deportation force?
What he said was he's going to empower the Immigration and Customs Enforcement to do their job, which means making sure that the people who are here illegally, first and foremost, that are felons, are shipped out of the country. That's a given. Second, and very importantly, making sure we know who's coming into the country and empowering the individuals who are tasked with our immigration policy of making sure that we know who is coming into the country first and foremost.
Deportation force, yes or no?
I mean, look, you heard Donald Trump on his own words say today. He never used that term today.
He never used it today, but he had used it before, which is why we're curious about where he stands on it now.
He's going to empower the Immigration Naturalization Service to make sure that we know who is here in this country and find the solution, what to do with 11 or potentially 30 million illegal immigrants.
So what I think I just heard Corey say is that he's going to pass the buck and say to the, INS and to ICE, you figure this out, which seems super odd for a presidential candidate who made building a wall and, to basically quote him, rounding up every person who he believes was not here legally and sending them back to their country, and to quote him, they were going to be happy about it. So what we're seeing here is a Donald Trump in poll freefall, trying to reshape what he's done to be more palatable to those outside his bloc, and it's not working.
Margaret?
And now the campaign's retracting.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being real here, anybody who's following this understands Donald Trump has a new campaign team. They're looking at numbers. Do they want to win, or do they want to sort of hunker down and be surrounded by people who agree with them only and sort of trip over the finish line in November? Clearly, they're trying to change what the bedrock of his candidacy has been, in the hopes that they can soften his image and potentially make some gains on their what is looking like a catastrophic failure for November right now. That's what's happening. You have sophisticated pollsters, sophisticated campaign operatives who are in there right now trying to fine-tune his language to actually try to nuance his position on this. Look, I'm delighted as a Republican that he's going to change his position on this. I don't think building a wall and deporting people, first and foremost, is A, how you speak to Hispanics in this country, B, representative of the values of this country, or C, how the majority of Republicans think we should handle the immigration situation, let alone all the Democrats. If he wants to have a prayer in November, he has to nuance his position.
But what they're also seeing, I believe, is the impossibility of kind of threading the camel through a needle, given all that he said over and over and over.
We'll see. He has not changed his position on building a wall. What he says is going to enforce the laws that are here, and he will deal with people in a humane way. He said that from the very get-go. That has not changed at all.
What we don't know right now, because there is some cloudiness of it, is does he plan to allow for any kind of legalization possibility for the 11,000 undocumented immigrants in the country right now? Up until today, the answer was no. Or up until
Round
this
them up.
weekend, I should say, the answer was no. Now, it's not so sure. Let's wait and see what he says when he says it, because right now we don't know. I want to change the subject, Christine Quinn, and talk right now about the emails. And there are the 15,000 pages of documents that we're going to see maybe at some point. And then there's Judicial Watch, which released some emails that they already have. Now, look, before you tell me Judicial Watch is a right-leaning group, I know that already, but the emails themselves are the emails themselves here. And I want to read you an exchange with Huma Abedin that she had with Doug Band, who's in charge of the Clinton Foundation. Huma Abedin worked in the State Department, close friend of Hillary Clinton. This is what it says. Here, take a look at this. Huma Abedin, Doug Band trying to get a meeting with the Crown Prince of Bahrain and Hillary Clinton. Can we put the graphic up so people can see it? It says this, from Doug Band to Huma Abedin. CP, Crown Prince of Bahrain, in tomorrow, Friday. Asking to see her. Good friend of ours. Doug Band asking for an appointment between the Crown Prince of Bahrain and Hillary Clinton. Huma Abedin responds. She essentially says, do we have that? I got this now. No, that's the wrong one.
That's the
Okay,
wrong
we
one.
don't have the response. But she
So,
set
but-
up the meeting. She set up the meeting.
But wait,
She
Sean.
set up the meeting. Before you say but wait, she set up the meeting. Huma Abedin sets up a meeting between Hillary Clinton and the Crown Prince of Bahrain. Is that not
But
providing
had
services
you-
for the Clinton Foundation?
Had you been able to put the actual response up, you would have seen that it said something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, have already received this request through proper channels. And then you see, so in the
I'm glad you
meeting-
brought that up. Through proper channels, Hillary Clinton didn't want to have the meeting. She had said the meeting shouldn't be
No.
scheduled. No, she did. She said the meeting, don't schedule it right now. I'm not sure I want to be there for it at the time. When Doug Band talked to Huma Abedin, then Huma Abedin made it happen.
That's not the chronology of it, A. And B, when she said she didn't want to
that is the
be
chronology
there,
of it.
she said she wasn't sure whether she was going to be in D.C. or back in New York and basically not
sure how she's
taking
gonna
appointments. But let's be clear here. Bahrain has been for decades an important ally to the United States. They're one of our most important major allies who's not a member of NATO. The 5th Naval Fleet, which is the fleet that protects the Middle East and is America's presence
John,
for the Middle
it's
East.
$16 million
Wait,
to the
you got to
foundation.
go on and on about.
We don't care about the fleet. We care about the $16
Well, you know what?
million
I
that Crown
actually,
Prince gave.
I actually think the people in the Middle East and the people in Israel and
This
the
is
people
pay for
in the
play.
world care about the fleet. That is based out of Bahrain. And so what we see here is an emails between two people and a meeting that should happen between the Secretary of State and the Crown Prince of Bahrain happening, and Doug Band happening to lob
You
in
have
an
the
email.
John,
appearance.
it's
You have the
$16 million.
appearance of someone at the Clinton
The Crown-
Foundation. Hey, does it leave the appearance, Margaret Hoover, since you were waiting patiently? Does it leave the appearance that someone from the Clinton Foundation is asking for a meeting, and the meeting happens?
That is the appearance, and politics is perception, and this is something that reasonable people have a very hard time understanding why the Clintons chose. If there is nothing wrong, if there is no pay to play, you take them at their word. Why did they skate so perilously close to the line and maybe cross it in terms of the perception? The politics is perception, and the perception is terrible.
Because there
here.
doesn't literally have to be provable pay to play to have an appearance problem. And appearances, Corey, is what the Clinton team and the Obama team back in 2008, 2009 during the transition said they wanted to avoid.
You know what this is? This, once again, is special privileges for special people. $16 million went to the Clinton Foundation from this group. And if you or I emailed Huma Abedin asking for a meeting with the Secretary of State tomorrow, we're going to, first they said, what she said was, we'll see how she feels,
John
if she's going
might
to be
get it.
ill or
You're
not.
not getting
But,
it.
but
I
the
just
difference
wanna
is, if I gave $16 million to the Clinton Foundation, I would
I just
have the
wanna know,
access to
what
Doug
is your candidate going to
into-
do when he's in the presidency?
Look,
Because
look,
he's got to put a
You
whole
know what
bunch
he
of
won't do is take money from
problems.
special
But wait,
interests
this is
and
the
take money
Crown
from...
Prince
You
of
have
Bahrain.
15
It's
seconds,
not-
Christine.
It's
Stop.
not a
Personally benefit
random
themselves.
person who requested a meeting
$16
through
million to the Clinton
channels
Foundation.
with the Secretary of State. It's the Crown Prince of a country that is an ally where we have a naval base.
Who
That's an
requested
appropriate...
a meeting through the proper
No.
channels and was denied.
And got it.
It was
And
denied
got
through the
it.
proper channels and went to the
got
foundation to
meeting,
get it.
And there is...
They did
appearance or
not get it
there's
through the proper
nothing
channels.
wrong was done here.
We don't know
We got
ultimately how they got the meeting. What we know is that ultimately they did get the meeting after Huma Abedin was contacted. That's what we know. More, well, there are more emails we'll get a chance to look at.